Did you know that some cacti, like this one, live in trees? I'm Tony Le-Britton and welcome to Plants with Impact, a series where I show you how to care for your houseplants so they don't only survive but thrive in your home. In this episode, we're going to be talking about cacti like this one that live in trees. In Central and South America, you'll see cacti like these hanging from trees. They're epiphytes, which means they attach themselves to the tree and hang down. They don't actually require any soil to grow, which makes it really good for us because they need less watering than a lot of our houseplants. So you can go away for long periods of time without having to worry about them. This one here is Rhipsalis Baccifera, so it's got these long, thick leaves with beautiful texture in each section. This one here is Lepismium bilivianum, and this gets really show-stopping white flowers. And this one here is Rhipsalis Baccifera, or its more common name is a mistletoe cactus. And you'll see why. If you look closely, you'll see these white berries which follow beautiful white flowers, and inside you have seeds, and this is a great way for you to propagate this at home. Tree cacti care is really easy. Because of how they grow, you can leave them for long periods without watering. But one of the main things to get right with them, especially if you want them to flower and produce berries, is the lighting. So they are low light tolerant plants, which means they'll survive in lower light, but if you can give them a little bit more, and specifically a little bit of direct sun very early in the morning or late in the afternoon, they're going to really flourish. Now, watering is the second most important thing, especially overwatering. You really want to avoid your tree cacti sitting waterlogged for large amounts of time. This particular one I've had for 5 years and it's never been repotted. So there's a large plant in a very small pot, which means the soil's going to dry out nice and quickly. When I do water it, I water them really thoroughly. In fact, I take these outside and I hose the entire thing down. If you can't do that, just pop them in the shower. Give the leaves a really good soak and soak the soil through too. Make sure you're allowing that to drain off really well so it's never going to sit in water, and then don't water it again until the soil is absolutely bone dry. Fertilizing this plant will really help encourage flowering and fruiting, so fertilize every other watering right through the year. This whole family of plants has a pretty ingenious way of spreading. After flowering, they produce these berries, and inside the berries, they're full of black seeds surrounded by a sticky mucus. When an animal or bird eats these, they get stuck to their face. They then move to another tree, clean their face, and leave behind these berries, which then germinate and go on to produce a whole new plant. And we can do this really easily at home. So you just need some sort of airtight container to create a perfect humid environment, like the jungle that they live in, and a piece of cork bark. And if you don't have cork bark, you can use a really free draining soil. All you need to do is remove one of these berries that's nice and plump, burst it open to reveal the seeds, and simply do what the bird would do and wipe it onto the bark. Once you've spread those on, pop them into your container, spray them down with some water, and then pop the lid on to keep it humid. Within a couple of weeks, the seed will germinate and start to produce roots that are going to attach to the bark just like they would in the wild. And after that, you'll see some leaves start growing. Once those leaves reach a couple of inches in length, you can either remove the cork bark and take off the plants to pot up in some soil, or you can leave them on here and they'll eventually cover the cork bark, and you can hang this in the house and spray a few times a week to keep it nice and moist. I showed you one way to propagate it, but there is another way. You can take a piece of this with a little node on, so one of the little bumps on the stem, break that off, lay that on top of some damp soil and cover it with some cling film or pop it into a little container to keep the humidity really high. After a few weeks, that will start to root and you've got yourself a clone of the mother plant ready to grow into something just as beautiful as this. I'm sure many of you already grow cacti at home, but I hope today I've inspired you to give tree cacti a go. And don't worry if you don't have anywhere to hang them, you can trail them like this and they really transform a room.